Welcome back to Couch Talk, everybody. I'm Joe, and I just got done watching the trailer for the new movie, Rocketman. This movie is directed by Dexter Fletcher. The only other movie he's ever directed was Eddie the Eagle, which also starred Taron Egerton alongside Hugh Jackman, which was another true story. And now he's coming back to do the Elton John biopic mixed with fantasy elements, Rocketman. So I just got done watching this trailer, and it looks really good. But he doesn't sound anything like Elton John. Now, that's not to say that he's a bad singer, Taron Egerton. He was also the voice behind the gorilla in the Sing movie. He actually has a really good voice, but there's just something about, if I wasn't watching this trailer and I was listening to it, I would think like, wow, this guy's not the best interpreter. But the fact that he does such a good job looking like him goes miles and miles and miles, because again, it's a movie, so you want to watch this and think that you're watching a movie about Elton John and not Taron Egerton playing Elton John. But they really nail the look between the costumes and his hairline and glasses and just the way he acts. He really embodies Elton John and who he was, and I'm pretty sure that Elton John actually handpicked Taron Egerton to play this role because they worked together on the set of Kingsman 2, The Golden Circle. Elton John was very fond of Taron Egerton and handpicked him to play this part, so I got to imagine that that is a huge honor to have the legend himself want you to play him in his movie. But I mean, the guy is just so notorious and legendary for his amazing music, so you also got to really nail the voice, and he's just not there. So it takes you out of the experience a little bit, because he's getting to the hooks of the song, like Rocketman in the trailer at the very end, and it's just like, that doesn't sound like him. But then again, I don't think anybody could sound like Elton John. I often talk about this a lot, how Frank Sinatra is my favorite singer of all time. I have all of his albums. I listen to him in my car every day. It was passed down from my grandfather, who pretty much forced me to listen to him up until the day he died, and it just rolled into my head. But even I can admit that even though Frank Sinatra is one of the greatest singers of all time, his voice is easily manipulated and copied. As long as you have a deep voice, it's pretty easy to hit his notes. But there's something about Elton John's voice that I've just never heard anyone get close to sounding just like him. And I've heard a lot of people on YouTube cover his songs, like cover bands and stuff, but there's just something about his voice that is so unique and so one of a kind. But I don't think it's going to fault the movie. Honestly, I think I need to just watch the movie from start to finish, because just getting a trailer and a little 1-minute teaser of it, half the trailer is him singing, and I don't really get to spend a lot of time with Taron Egerton as this character, and I think after a 2-hour movie, I'll adjust to his voice a little bit more, but the trailer just isn't long enough for me to adjust, which I think is the problem. But aside from that, the movie looks great. Apparently it's mixed with fantasy elements, and I tried looking all over the internet to see what that means. The trailer at the end says, the real biopic, based off of a true fantasy. And I think, I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it or discussing what that means, but in my head, I think, just from talking to people that have been to his concerts, people say his music is just so magical that it makes you feel like you're floating. And I think that this movie is based a lot off of it is a movie about Elton John and he is the star, but I think it's also largely based off of the magical experiences that people have had about it, and how they always talked about you feel like you're floating, and the lighting effects are reminiscent of fireworks, and it's just all of these lovely stories that you heard passed down from people that have seen it, and they're told tales about it, and just being very overdramatic in their storytelling of how the concerts were. I think it's coming from a fan of what it feels like to be in an Elton John concert, and they're trying to add that fantastical element of just being there and seeing him perform and translate it into a Hollywood movie. So it's when you hear people say his music was so good, I just feel like I'm floating. It's they're actually showing you these people floating in the movie, and I think that's really cool. I've never seen a movie do that before, especially based off of a true story, where it takes the tall tale legends of the experience of going to this show and incorporating it into a cinematic experience. So I'm really excited to see how that translates. And, right after, coming off the heels of Bohemian Rhapsody, we're getting two legends, pretty close together. And I just gotta say, it's, what a time to be alive that you get to see these two people perform on the big screen. I'm really excited. I think this looks really good. Like I said, I just have to adjust to his voice a little bit. But aside from that, I think that Taron Egerton is going to be fantastic. I think the director is really nailing the tone of what Elton John is and just really capturing the essence of who he is. Now, if only we can get a goddamn Frank Sinatra movie. Quentin Tarantino was supposed to direct it, but apparently the family didn't like the direction he was going in because he was going to dive a little deeper into the fact that he was close with the mob. So if they could just make that, we'll have Bohemian Rhapsody, Elton John, and Frank Sinatra, and they're 3 out of the top 5 best singers of all time, in my opinion. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you excited for this movie? Do you think Taron Egerton is a good choice for this? What do you think the whole fantasy element they're talking about actually means if you don't agree with mine? Let me know down below, and as always, I'll catch you next time.